Alright guys, so I'm going to be doing a review of Darth Vader Dark Heart of the Sith. This is a trade of the new Vader ongoing series that Marvel's been doing. They've done 3 so far. I'm not counting the Vader miniseries, but basically, this is the new Vader ongoing from them. You had, first off, Darth Vader by Karen Gillan and Salvador Larroca, which I think is the best of these 3. That handles Vader, what happened to Vader in between New Hope and Empire. Then we had Charles Schulz's Darth Vader Dark Lord of the Sith, which was, I guess you could call it Vader Year 1. It was pretty much Vader of everything that happened to Vader post Episode 3. And then we have this comic by Greg Pak with artwork by I apologize if I butcher these names. Raphael Insenko, and colors by Nidra Menon. I really apologize if I butchered these names. And this comic deals with Vader in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. So this is a Vader who is essentially revealed to Luke that, hey, he said those classic words, "I am your father." And this takes place actually right after the end of Empire Strikes Back, where the Millennium Falcon gets away, and Vader just looks away in silence and just turns away, and he's like, "Well, my son's gone." So this comic is the first 5 issues of the first story arc of the new volumes, and it's alright. It's a pretty decent comic. I like the artwork. The one thing you can say about the Vader comics is that they haven't gotten Joe Schmo to read or to write these comics. They've in no way had a nobody to write these comics. They actually get good writers on here, or very credible writers. You know, Karen Gillan was, of course, the big one who kicked the doors open, and then you had Charles Scholl, who his run is debatable. I think there's some good moments in here. I think it's a good run. And you have Greg Pak, who is a great writer in his own right. So like I said, this is a Vader who, right after the Millennium Falcon leaves, manages to get away for the end of Empire, or Empire Strikes Back. Vader and a small squad of Death Troopers and a forensics droid go on a quest to find all the traces of Luke and discover how did he miss Luke for so long? How did Luke get under the radar? And he's trying to figure out who made him weak. And along the way, Vader encounters shards of his past, and I'll get to that in a moment. So basically, in this comic, I will say right now that it feels a little weird. I know this comic is supposed to be set post-Return of the Jedi. Post Empire Strikes Back. But this feels like it should be post Revenge of the Sith. That's really where it feels where because a lot of the stuff that happens in this comic is very, very prequel heavy. It's very, a lot of the stuff that happens in here is very prequel heavy, and you almost forget, this should be after Revenge of the Sith. This should be post Revenge of the Sith, or something you would see there. And it's only with the inclusion of the Death Troopers and all that, and a few other scenes here and there where you go, "Oh right, this is post Empire." So it feels weird. It feels weird that we have this comic so that's so prequel heavy, but timeline wise, it's so far removed from everything else. So that was a bit strange in here. Anyway, so this comic, Vader encounters Sabi. Sabi, most of you guys would know best. That was Keira Knightley's role as the Queen's as Queen Amidala's body double. And essentially, this deals with Vader encountering her on his quest to find out the whereabouts of Luke. And eventually, he gets led down this road of learning everything of how Luke managed to survive and where he came from. So Vader in here at first wants to kill her, and then the two of them team up, and we also find out what happened to Captain Typho from Phantom Menace and the prequel trilogy and all there. And yeah, it's kind of neat that we're getting all of these cool references to what happened to some of the lesser known prequel characters. We're getting what happened to the Queen's Handmaiden. She's now a rebel leader and has put up a cult, not so much a cult, but more she and the other Queen Handmaidens essentially got together with a lot of the other Queen Royal Guards, and they call themselves the Amidalas, which sounds like a 80s techno group from Brazil. Just sounds like that. And when they when they think Vader is the one who killed him, which they're not wrong, they want to swear in the name of Padme and Anakin that Vader must die. Brutal sometimes. I really like Greg Pak's voice for Vader. I think he has, like, this very just kind of, this is a Vader who's going through a lot. Like, in fact, there's actually a scene early in the comic where Vader ignores a summon from the Emperor just to go off and go on his own private mission. And he's very much keeping it very close to the chest. He's keeping a lot of secrets from the Emperor as he goes on his personal quest in order to discover what, all these little whereabouts. And we get a lot, like I said, going back to what I said about Vader, like this Vader comic feeling like what should be a post Revenge of the Sith comic, is that we go to a lot of we go back to Tatooine, which is no surprise. We go back to Naboo. We have Vader on Naboo, which is really cool. Like, that's something some of the EU really did, but we never really got a lot of Vader on Naboo. So Greg Pak really handles that of Vader coming back to the planet of the woman he loved, and coming back to that storyline is really neat, and he handles it very well. That's very much the highlight of Vader back on Naboo. And we even get Vader on Polis Massa, the birthplace, where Padme died while she was giving birth to, because she lost the will to live. Fucking Christ. But that's where she gave birth to Luke and Leia. And, yeah, the supporting cast is very well done. I really like how how Greg Pak utilized the other lesser-known characters, especially Sabi, who Vader at first is like, is that Padme? What the hell? And he's resisting the urge to kill her every time, because all he sees is just Padme's face, and it just fucks with him. I do like the supporting cast for Vader is just a small squad of Death Troopers and a forensics droid that follows along, and he does have some nice quips here and there, but it does feel like at the same time where I was like, man, Greg Pak just really wanted to use 000, but he just couldn't, he wasn't able to. So that's what it kind of feels like. All in all, this comic is it's a good addition to not just the Marvel Star Wars, but the Vader Marvel Star Wars comics. Funny thing too is that this comic is $15.99, so you're spending about less than $20, which for a Marvel graphic novel, for a Marvel trade, especially a first volume trade, that's actually pretty damn cheap. Like some Marvel trades go for like $18 to $20 for their first volumes. This is the cheapest I've seen of a Marvel trade in a while. So it's really cheap. I would say give it a look. Despite all the little gripes I have, I think the artwork's pretty good. It's very cool to see a post Empire Vader and where he's going in this mindset, and how it ends leaves me go, I want to check out the second volume. So all in all, I recommend the Greg Pak Vader comic. So if you've read it, just comment below, let me know. And once again, I'm Mr. Multiverse, and I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.